I feel it in the water. Hanmathan nedke. I feel it in the earth. Ahanastron nedquidith. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. Hello and welcome to Trail Mix by Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dusty.
Although, call me Galadriel.
Is that from Game of Thrones?
No, it's from Lord of the Rings, girl.
Oh, it's from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I was doing my best Kate Blanchett.
Okay, great. Well, you didn't have you weren't like, possessed by something and screaming at me.
Instead of a dark lord, you would have a terrible queen, terrible and mighty as the dawn. All will love me.
Listen, the metaphors from that about what's happening now, just let us count the ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, everybody, if you're joining us for the first time, Trail Mix is the short format episodes of our show. Our long format episodes explore one hiking trail in one national park, one park at a time. And Trail Mix allows us to dive deeper into the things we didn't get to cover in those long format episodes, including interviews, history, science, and environmental justice.
That's right. And this Trail Mix episode is all about the attack on our Forest Service by our current sitting president, or environmental disaster in chief. Because let's be plain about it, folks, that's what he is. Whether it's parklands, forests, clean energy, water dependency, this creature is ruining everything for all of us.
Yes, much like who in Lord of the Rings?
Gollum.
Thank you.
Or Sauron.
Yes. Yeah. The Eye of Sauron.
No one says that.
No one said that except me right now. I just want you to know. Yeah. Because did I see the Lord of the Rings? I did once. Mm-hmm. But let's be clear. When we were in and hiking in Shenandoah, you gave me a play-by-play of exactly what happens in every movie. Mm-hmm. And that play-by-play took as long as the movie took to watch, which I sincerely hope you better find yourself someone in your life that can do that, because I had way more fun doing that and hearing you give me the play-by-play of everything than I did actually watching those movies.
Well, there you go.
Even though those movies are great.
Yeah, fantastic.
So all of that previous strong editorializing aside, when it comes to the environment, he definitely isn't making things better at all. We have spent a lot of time contextualizing his awfulness across our show because, as lovers of the environment and the earth, you know the only place people can currently live. We take a lot of issue with his flippant approach to environmental policy.
And while we could wax poetic all day on the extent of his crimes against humanity, specifically around the environment, we want to take the time to zero in on our national forest, the newest target he has in his race to be the most hated person on the planet, or what's left of it.
We want to provide some context for the National Forest before we take the time to talk about their defunding, because context and clarity around an agency or entity and what its purpose is really helps to underscore how imbecilic it is to attack, change, undermine, or in some cases just plain get rid of it.
We actually produced an episode all about the National Forest in Season 3 of our show. Take a listen to that for a primer on the national forests and how these public lands differ from the national parks,
which you can find in our episode finder.
We also spoke about the Forest Service, the role of the national forests, and their benefits, which include the fact that national forests sustain more than 3,000 species of fish and wildlife. More than 7 in 10 of all Americans live within 100 miles of a national forest. National forests contribute $13 billion annually to our economy. And water from national forests is valued at $3.7 billion per year. And millions of Americans depend on the water from national forests every single day, as it is their home's water supply.
Aside from the havens for fish and wildlife and the benefit to the economy, I think the really important thing here for human populations is how integral national forests are in water consumption for people, homes, and communities. We've spent a decent amount of time talking about water this season, especially in how it relates to desert communities and ecosystems. And This piece of information becomes more and more important as data centers and AI usage are literally gobbling up so much of this incredibly valuable resource.
Yeah, water and AI, everybody.
Right.
Right.
So there is some information now that came out about adding some more context to the thing that was quoted about how much water is used in data centers, which, of course, being accurate is super helpful always. But at the end of the day, a lot of water is used to cool data centers, whether it's like one bottle of water per prompt. I don't know if it's exactly that much, but it is quite a bit of water per prompt. And that's just how it goes.
Yeah. And I'm just like, if AI isn't doing things like helping humanity, and it's just like, generate an image with me, like with lots of cats. I'm like, sorry, guys. No, it's dumb. Let it be a tool that's used for good, actually for good, and then cut it off there. We don't need it to be doing all these other things. It's also like promotes laziness. I'm like, I could get on this soapbox all day long, and I'm just like, you can actually do research. You are thinking people. It's just creating the setup for what will become the movie WALL-E.
I was literally about to say that and make that connection if you weren't going to. I mean, that is it is the bridge to that. It absolutely is the bridge to that if we want it to be. And it's here. People are walking across it every day.
Along with water and its importance, some other things we'll tackle in this episode relate to the attack on the National Forest Service that include climate change, wildfires, forest management, and research. So, exactly what is happening with the National Forest Service?
To begin, at the start of the second administration of our environmental disaster in chief, many federal agencies came under scrutiny and attack, specifically in the sector of public lands. NPS and FS workers were summarily fired, causing a vacuum of federal workers to manage the lands which they were assigned to care for and maintain. Many of these workers were probationary employees, which made firing them legally easier. That is, until the court stepped in. Of the 3,400 probationary employees fired from the U.S. Forest Service, only a few dozen were actually fired, as court orders sent most back to their job. However, at the time when DOGE was wreaking havoc throughout the many agencies of the government, many employees of the U.S. Forest Service who were eligible for early retirements or resignation buyouts took deals and left. That was over a quarter of the workforce for the Forest Service.
Similar tactics were taken against the National Park Service and their employees, and you can hear more about this on our episode Join the Resistance from Season 7. This brings us to March 30th, 2026, when things abruptly shifted for the Forest Service and their employees as the Forest Service headquarters is set to move to Salt Lake City, Utah from Washington, D.C. 57 of the 77 research facilities are being consolidated into one site in Colorado, and regional offices of the Forest Service close across the country to now be run by 15 appointed state directors.
These moves have been described as illegal, considering what was prohibited in the fiscal year 2026 appropriations. According to Steve Lenkart, who is the executive director of the National Federation of Federal Employees, or the NFFE, the 2026 fiscal year budget clearly stipulates that funding for the USFS, United States Forest Service, cannot be put towards any sort of relocation, reorganization, or renaming. The move, like many by this administration, is likely to face pushback and lawsuits.
The restructure, to many, feels like another way to thin the workforce, as many Forest Service workers work in remote, rural communities where their homes and families are. The purpose of these field research centers range from making better safety equipment, improving wood and paper products, and improving fire safety. A reorganization, which involves closing these facilities, which are particular to a specific area of the country, means less specificity in how these issues are handled. These field research facilities, along with regional offices, help to better manage the variety of forests throughout the country, the amount of which is equal to the size of the state of Texas.
Hey, Hey y'all, it's Dusty and Mike with exciting news.
That's right. It's our episode finder. It's all about making finding our episodes even easier.
Want to find more episodes about hikes in Shenandoah? With over 10 episodes across 2 separate seasons, it would have involved a lot of scrolling and searching.
Now, with our episode finder, you can find all those episodes with a few easy clicks. That way, finding an episode on Yosemite from season 1 is just as easy as finding an episode on Zion, Yellowstone, and Haleakala, all in separate seasons.
With over 275 episodes in 35 different national parks, our episode finder will add ease when finding out more about hikes in these spaces.
But it's not just about hikes by national park. We've categorized our entire library so you can find hikes by state, hikes by terrain, and hikes by difficulty.
And all of our Trail Mix episodes are there too, so you can easily find our science-based episodes, interviews, and more.
Planning a trip to Colorado and want to hear more about our adventures there? Want to grunt it out on some really tricky trails or learn more about glaciers, grasslands, and mountains?
Just click the link in our show notes or on our Instagram bio, and it pops right up. You can also head directly to our website and look for the episode finder at the top of the navigation bar.
Conquer one hike in one national park, one park at a time, with just a few clicks with our episode finder. Happy trails!
The newly politically appointed 15 state directors will work to oversee the national forests in their designated areas. Brooke Rowland, head of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, sees the move as a streamlining effort to have individuals responsible for a large amount, but not all, national forests closer to them with a home base in Salt Lake City. This move is looked at as a way to put people on the ground where they are, quote unquote, needed, not stuck within the swamp of Washington, D.C., where they can't be involved and invested. This is suspect sentiment considering the regional offices and scientific facilities that were literally in these spaces to begin with that are now being shuttered. In this case, as in most, streamlining operations is the fancy way to say, we just aren't that into you, but to save face, we're going to make it look like there has been a lot of waste and that we're doing the taxpayers a favor. We're winning. I don't think that winning looks like gutting scientific programs or minimizing cancer research or scaling back commitments to communities. But who am I to say?
Well, you're a concerned citizen who grew up in an era where science and research and the pursuit of excellence was prized, where Congress took initiative and pushed back, or at the very least didn't stand by and kowtow to broad daylight thievery. You're someone like me who believes that the government should be there to make the lives of the people they serve better and not harder. Someone impassioned and concerned about the earth, its flora, and its fauna. Someone who believes that we all deserve better, and what we've been continued to be served is a platter of tepid garbage that is being billed as a 4-star meal. These public servants deserve better. We all deserve better.
You're damn right. And I am not the only one concerned. The Union of Concerned Scientists feels that this move is setting us up for disaster for a variety of reasons, so let's break them down. For one, the loss of scientific research will be catastrophic. The research facilities of the Forest Service are specific to the regions that they are conducted in. The national forests of the Pacific Northwest are inherently different from the forests of the Northern Plains, the Southeast, and the Southwest. The studies conducted in these facilities have, like much of the scientific research that have been gutted by this administration, provided landmark studies at these specific facilities. Streamlining the agency, shuttering facilities, and moving them to a centralized location cannot produce the data or services that these research facilities or regional offices could in a space that is not the space that they were conducting the research.
Similar moves by our environmental disaster in chief were made in his first administration when he worked to move other agencies like the USDA's Economic Research Services and the Bureau of Land Management to streamline these agencies and to enact cost-saving measures. They ultimately disrupted key services and made the jobs of the remaining staff who decided to relocate all the more difficult, and in no way enacted a net positive for the way in which things had been working versus how they were changed.
Along with loss of research, the threat of wildfires and the ability to respond to them, especially in a historically dry winter for the western United States, is troublesome. The science is clear that the wildfires that we are seeing are not the same that the United States has seen in the past decades. Human-driven climate change has exacerbated wildfire conditions, which means that fires now burn for longer periods of time and at higher elevations. And this isn't just an issue that squeezes the United States, as worldwide wildfire activity has doubled.
Fire season has started earlier in the spring and has stretched further into the autumn, sometimes even impacting areas in the winter, when seasonally this was the least likely time of the year for wildfires to burn. And wildfires are a major cause of emissions, which further exacerbate the issue of climate change. But the thing about the Forest Service is that their continued research helped to give state agencies and utility companies practical ways in which to respond to wildfires in those specific areas of the country in which their research facilities were before they were recently shuttered. Streamlining an agency and shuttering facilities further underscores the anti-science, anti-people sentiment of this administration.
And the Forest Service, similar to that of NOAA, NASA, the EPA, and HHS, were once the premier or some of the most premier research agencies in the field worldwide. As these once premier agencies close, seemingly in the name of fiscal responsibility or streamlining the process, the data is lost and no agency is there to fill that void. This creates a dangerous situation for the public on multiple fronts, and it also sets up a brain drain as historical knowledge is lost due to downsizing of staff and the qualified and highly regarded scientists that leave for the private sector or leave the country in general.
Where we once were a beacon for so many things, specifically in the realm of science, we have allowed the whim of a few men to dictate the course of things to come. While we once placed value on our government agencies and what the experts in these fields were there to do, we have now used falsified economic emergencies to justify eliminating programs and research that benefit the people of this nation and the world at large. What could have been a brighter, more promising future based on a solid groundwork in science is now the shake of a magic 8-ball. Reply hazy. Try again.
While this is bad news for many, the hardest hit at the moment are the U.S. Forest Service employees, who, like the National Park Service employees, have been batted around, used, and abused. Like the NPS, the Forest Service lost a large chunk of its workforce in the first year of this second administration of terror. From loss of personnel to drastic changes to the job and the potential to need to relocate from regional offices, the morale of the people responsible for maintaining and caring for the national forests, both in good times and in bad, is understandably low. Oh.
So, I mean, this all just is obviously by design.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is to
Project 2025.
hope
chaos.
to eliminate them.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And it's the same, playbook that's been used in other agencies by this administration.
Right. And I hope that people understand that, like, when you vote for an administration, you are voting for the ability to place people in all of these federal offices.
Yeah.
And you are saying, yes, I want this person to choose staff.
Yeah. And by design is most likely, as the timing of the Forest Service reorganization coincides with the new rules to fast-track changes to the national forests through logging, mining, and industry without public participation or public comment.
Environmental review is required under the National Environmental Policy Act, one of the nation's strongest and most strident laws on the environment. It is a way for people to not only get information on what projects are being proposed on public land, but it gives the people a voice to advocate against whatever that project or projects may be. The National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, signed into law on New Year's Day 1970, is a foundational law that dictates that the federal government, specifically federal agencies, evaluate the impact of proposed federal actions on the environment and it requires public participation in these decisions.
In July of 2025, temporary measures were made to absolve the USDA, which manages the United States Forest Service, from NEPA, but now it seems that full-blown measures have been taken to absolve the USDA permanently. This workaround essentially states that what the king wants goes, and the will of the people, or at least their voices, are silenced in any new decision-making surrounding these public lands.
While again, these measures will most certainly be challenged in courts, there truly is no bottom for this administration and its lust for cruelty, malice, and will to dominate all life.
That's another Lord of the Rings reference.
There we go. There we go. Our national forests are an important part of the tapestry of our public lands, and they provide much more than a set of trails to hike or beautiful views. They literally provide for communities across the country in a myriad of ways. Yet, if a profit is to be made, then in the eyes of the administration, there is no greater purpose. Through downsizing, reorganizing, and working around the literal law, they will find a way to eviscerate the actual things that make America great, leaving nothing but ashes in their wake.
If this pattern is to continue and agencies designed to protect and celebrate our public lands continue to be abused and undermined, what possible landscapes can we look forward to as vistas of beauty that aren't marred by irreplaceable fire damage, mining, logging, or other industry and development that these spaces were originally created to be protected against? The sources for today's episode include The Guardian article, A Legal Forest Service Overhaul Risks Causing Chaos Across U.S. Public Lands, Union Claims, by Michael Sanato.
The Mountain Journal article, USDA to Move Forest Service Headquarters from D.C. to Salt Lake City, by Robert Cheney.
The Union of Concerned Scientists article, Smoky Nose, President Trump's Forest Service Restructuring is Bad News, by Julian Reyes.
The article, Forest Service Shakeup Comes as Risky Wildfire Season Looms, by Marianne Lavelle on InsideClimateNews.org.
And the press release from the Center for Biological Diversity, Trump administration shuts public out of national forest projects, wildlife killings. Looking for more episodes like the one you just heard? Then be sure to check out our episode finder for episodes by park, state, hiking difficulty, and terrain, as well as all of our Trail Mix episodes in one helpful place. Click the link in the show notes of this episode, our Instagram bio, or visit our website to make your listening experience even easier.
This has been Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast, and we're here to remind you to hike early and hike often, and that adventure is always out there.
Gaze at the National Parks was created, produced, edited, and hosted by us,
Dustin Ballard
and Michael Ryan.
To see images from this episode, follow our Instagram at Gaze at the National Parks. To contact us, email us at gazeatthenationalparks@gmail.com. And to find out more about the parks visited on this show, visit our website, gazeatthenationalparks.com. That's Gaze, G-A-Z-E.
All original artwork featured on Instagram and on our website is by me, Michael Ryan.
All original music was written and performed by Dave Seaman and Mariella Klinger, with Sean Sklios on guitar. Our music producer is Skylar Fortgang.
We would also like to acknowledge that while recording this episode that we were on the traditional and stolen lands of the Lenape people, also known as New Jersey.